Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Powerful Man Show. I am your host, Doug Holt, with my co-host, Tim, the Powerful Man Matthews. What's going down, brother?
Yeah, I'm very well. Very well indeed. Enjoyed the last podcast. Excited to do the workshop with the men. Yeah, that'll go really well. In the past, when we've done those, like the Powerful Marriage Reset, we did one 18 months ago, I think. It was incredible. A lot of the guys who were in there were invited because they'd applied for the activation method, but for one reason or another, some of them just weren't able to get in. And then coming out the back of that, they chose to not join the activation method because it solved the problems.
Yep.
So, yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for this one. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, for those that maybe didn't listen to the previous podcast, and because it's time sensitive, you want to go back and listen to that. But essentially, we're doing a workshop for free for any of the guys that are interested, or business owners. This is the only requirement, or business leaders. So you could be a CEO potentially and get in there. Is basically how to go from sexless marriage where you're fighting all the time to where you're like one of the guys, I think we called him Jay. It's not his real name. Was getting text messages from his wife after she stormed out with one of her, frantic fits. Nothing to do with him. Stormed out, then apologized to him, told him that she loved him and appreciated him essentially, and said that she wants his cock. So pretty amazing. So we're gonna show you exactly what we had him do and what he did to get there, so you guys can have that result as well, and then apply that to other areas of your life, which is interesting, Tim. Which brings me to today's topic. I'm doing well also, but today's topic is going to be about guys complain about a lot. Is we'll hear often from men is I have no sex drive. My wife has no sex drive. Guys will complain about this. They'll talk to us. They'll be like, look, when we first started dating, we're having sex all the time, got married, and now we're a little bit older and my wife has zero sex drive. How often are you hearing that? Because you're a little bit more on the front lines, Tim. I mean, I hear it all the time from guys. How often does that come by your way?
Do you know what? I'm trying to think of the guys that we used to speak to when they applied for the program. Those guys, they said it often. And also there was so much chaos that was going on. They just wanted a little bit of intimacy. But you hear it more so when the guys actually get into the activation method and they open up and they start to really tell the truth about what's going on.
Well, that's the key. Yeah.
Yeah. In the beginning of the activation method, they start to open up and they start to tell the truth, like I said. And yes, you hear it a lot there.
Yeah. And so a lot of guys talk about this, right? So, I mean, if you're listening to this or watching this on YouTube or anywhere else, think about your life. Is an issue with your wife that she just has no sex drive. You initiate sex, she's just not interested, right? She goes to give you a blowjob, or you want a blowjob, I should say. And she's like, yeah, that's disgusting. I don't want to do that. Or, you're going to have sex. I'm tired, right? I don't want to have sex. I have a headache, the classic one, right? Or you creep behind her in the kitchen and, you get sexy and you start flirting with her, and, where you used to bend her over the counter, she turns around and pushes away and asks you to go do the dishes, right? Because she has no sex drive, right? That's the reason. It's got to be the reason. That's not the case, right? So the interesting thing that we know, Tim, is we've talked about this a lot. Like, as most listeners know, my wife coaches women, married women is what she specializes in. And so she'll tell me that the biggest complaint the women have is their husbands have no sex drive, right? That is a huge complaint from women. And I started doing a little research on this for this podcast episode, and there's no actual data here. But we started looking at the articles that I was finding. It was saying that women complain more often about their husbands not having a sex drive than husbands complain about women. Now, it could be because guys aren't complaining about it. Who knows? But what I think is really happening here, right? What I think is happening is what happens, the guy's thinking about it. He's getting horny. He's getting worked up, what have you. And he thinks, gosh, I want to get laid. I want to release, right? I just want to release that energy. I was like, oh, it's pent up in me. And he thinks about his wife and he thinks about going there. And then the thought of rejection comes in, right? He's been rejected so many times, turned down. And so then he goes to porn, flips open his phone, whatever it is, jerks off It's done. The desire's gone, everything else. Eventually goes upstairs. His wife's reading a book. He gets in bed, reads a book. They go to sleep, right? Or they watch a Netflix show, right? And he's jerking off in the bathroom or what have you. So that goes on time after time again. So guy's horny, repeats the same pattern or whatever it may be, fantasizes about the secretary, the barista from Starbucks or whatever it is. And instead of turning into his wife, because he doesn't want to get rejected anymore, he just masturbates and takes care of himself. And over time, that translation to his wife is that he has no sex drive, right? He has none because obviously he's not pursuing her, or there's something wrong with her. And so when she first starts thinking there's something wrong with her, right? Why is he not continually coming on to me? Oftentimes what the woman will do then is seek validation outside the home, right? So she'll start going to the gym, Pilates, yoga, whatever it is, or she'll start going out for coffees or lunches, but she's also looking at other men, right? She's dressing or acting a little bit more provocative to see, hey, do I still got it? My husband's not coming on to me. Do I still got what it takes? And then she gets validated, right? Guys are looking at her. Maybe she's wearing, showing her boobs a little bit more, lower cut shirt, what have you, or dress, or it's a summer dress nowadays, right? This time of year. And so she's getting that validation. So she's like, cool, I got it. Guys want to fuck me, right? Why doesn't my husband? He must have low sex drive, low testosterone or something, because she knows she's desirable now. So her confidence up high, right? And it must be his issue. Now, what happens here, which really upsets guys, and we have some guys come in that they've caught their wife cheating, right? Here's this woman with no sex drive. And next thing they know, they see pictures, a video maybe of her bouncing off some other dude, right? Moaning, screaming. Here's this woman who turns down sex left, right, and center with him, but is moaning and screaming on video. Or the wife that says, yeah, blowjobs are disgusting. And he sees a picture, video, or a text suggesting that her head's bobbing up and down on another guy's lap. What's really happening is blowjobs are disgusting with you, right? Sex is not there with you. And this happens often. This is the truth, right? I mean, this is not like a fun topic for a lot of guys to hear about and talk about. And look, guys, I'm a married man, so I get it. But the truth of the matter is, when the wife goes into this mode, her sex rank, her market value is higher than his. His has gone down because look, scientific studies show, and I'm not saying that you should stop masturbating to porn or any of that. I'm not that kind of guy to say that. But studies suggest that your testosterone increases when you're actually having intercourse and sex. Your testosterone decreases when you jerk off to porn. Right? Their actual science. I don't know how they study this, but somebody raised their hand to go in this volunteer in this lab to study. And thank goodness they did. I could see a bunch of teenagers or something in there. Like, yeah, pay me. I'll do this. But this is science. And so what happens is guys are shocked. They're like, I have this sexless wife at home and she hates blowjobs. And next thing they know, they have the nanny cam or something of her, some other dude sitting on their couch, right? Her wife comes over, takes off his pants and sucking his dick and bobbing up and down. And it's not so disgusting. And so there's a disconnect here. Because look, guys, unless there's a physiological reason that your wife can't have sex, or she was, probably maybe raped or something else, since you've been married or what have you, her sex drive is high. She has a sex drive. It just might not be a sex drive towards you. And a lot of times what's happening, and the woman's not going to cheat. Most women aren't going to, right? They're going to stay in the marriage for the most part until they have a plan to exit it, right? Women will exit a marriage once they have a plan. They're planning long before they leave, long before they start complaining. And what happens is in her eyes, your sexual rank, your market value, we did a podcast on this. Tim, you probably know the name and the number. I don't, but we did a podcast on this. You guys want to go back and listen to, and hopefully we can put a link on that in the show notes here. But her rank is higher than yours. Her stock value, the way I look at it, is higher than yours. So why would she trade for a lower value? And guys, this doesn't just have to do with aesthetics. This doesn't just have to do with the way you look. This is the way you're showing up, right? What we teach with the Live Like a King system and the Triadic Connection, that's how you raise your ranking. Yes, looking good, shedding that last 10 pounds for some of you guys, 40, 50, 100 pounds, shedding some of that weight, getting into your body. Great. Yeah. Who doesn't want someone who's sexier? Everybody does. Right. But for most women, what trumps that is how you show up as a man. And that, gentlemen, is something you can change in a matter of weeks. Losing 10 pounds, you can crash diet. Transforming your body is going to take a year or two, maybe more. Right? A lot of us have been in that industry. I have, Tim, you have. It takes a lot of time to truly do it. A lot of work. But you can change the way you show up as a man in a matter of weeks and change your paradigm. Right? So you go from deactivated to activated. That's the roadmap, right? That is the desired result here. It's not that your wife has a low sex drive, because that's not the case. The unfortunate case is she has a low sex drive for you currently. And that's a caveat, right? Currently, she has a low sex drive for you. Because as we've seen, if you go back and listen to, is it 2 podcasts ago that we talk about this, or a podcast ago where we talk about this?
Which particular bit?
The one where we talk about the guy in the inner circle.
Oh, yeah, the last one.
Great. So go back to the last podcast. Another reason to go back to it, guys, is you'll see where this guy was able to change it like that, right? His sexual market value as SMV went through the roof. Look, he started going to the gym again, working out. That wasn't the reason. It's the way he showed up. He started using the triadic connection. He started using the systems. He went through the activation method, applied the techniques. And now this woman who has no sex drive is sending him text messages saying that she wants his dick. That's not a text message you get from a woman with no sex drive. That's the text message you get with a woman with a high sex drive who's saying, thank you for showing up. Yes, I'd like more, please. And that's what we want to do and change this paradigm, guys. That's what we're looking for here, right? This shift. Now, maybe your wife's not cheating on you, right? Maybe that, and I hope she's not, truly. I hope you're in a marriage that you guys are both trying to work through it, right? Get to the other end. Go from good to better to great. Just go to excellent as we talk about the powerful man. Skip all that. Go to excellence, right? And I hope that's the case for you. And some of you guys are in a position where you've caught your wife cheating, you suspect your wife cheating, what have you. What I'm letting you know, and Tim's letting you know, is it's not an issue with her sex drive, because we hear it so often from guys. It's her issue with her sex drive with you currently. And if that's an issue, she's most likely already figured out that other men want her. It's not hard for women, right? Their whole, since puberty, right? Essentially, women have been fighting guys off. There's been some dude that wants to get in her pants, right? Since she was like in middle school. Her whole life. Imagine that. Your whole life, that guys want to get in your pants. For a woman to go get validated, all she has to do is go to Starbucks and get a cup of coffee. And some dude there is going to be checking her out if she looks halfway decent, right? She could be a 5 on a scale of 1 to 10 and get validation, where guys, that's tougher. It's not going to happen for us. But she can be a 5 and get validation. And if she gets validation that, hey, other men find me attractive, then where's my husband? Why is he not showing up? That's not the problem. It's not me. It's him, is the conversation that starts happening for her. And that's where she starts looking for the exit.
Sex Life documentary on Netflix. It just exemplifies this so well.
Is it a documentary or a TV show?
Sorry, a series yeah. About 8 episodes. Yeah. Basically, the premise of the show is this woman who happily married, has 2.4 children, amazing house to this amazing guy who's a stockbroker and loves her, adores her, great body, great shape. He's in great shape. He has a great body, all that kind of stuff. So on the outside, looks great. He thinks she doesn't have a sex drive. He doesn't know the kind of sex drive she used to have. Right? And as the show goes on, this creates a problem for her. A yearning inside of her that is insatiable. And her husband isn't meeting because of the man he isn't being. He could be the guy, But he isn't. But I don't want to give any more away than that. I think it's a really great example of, hey, the study of the man who she is fantasizing about versus the study of the man that she's married to. A man who brings out the sex drive in her and the man that basically kills the sex drive in her. It's great to see the study of those two and the differences, because he isn't a bad boy. He's not like this, as we are often traditionally told, oh, he's the bad boy. No, he's not a bad boy, but he has a certain something about him that, again, I'm not going to give it away. There's a certain way of leading himself that draws her in.
Yeah. So, man, I didn't plan on talking about this. This reminds me of when I had my wife come down and whiteboard out with me, typical business guy, right? Hey, my wife to whiteboard out with me what women want, right? We get asked a lot by the men that they want their wives to get coaching as well. They're like, we had such an amazing experience. My wife wants some of that. And my wife filled the whole friggin' whiteboard. It's a 10-foot whiteboard. It's not a small whiteboard. If you can picture it, it's big. She filled the whole thing with what women want and their complaints. And at the end, in big letters, she said, it boils down to this: women want to be well fucked. She wants to be a well fucked woman. And a well fucked woman is happy, and everybody around her is happy. Right. And that's what happens. I think a lot of us men, dude, I fell into this, Tim, is, when I got married, I suddenly had this whole, what they call it, the Madonna syndrome, I think is what they call it. Is I kind of idolized my wife, looked at her a little bit more pure than I did for some reason when I was dating her. And I stopped. I don't know how I would phrase this. I'm just thinking about this now. But I became more gentle with her than I was previously. Right. And this is the early on stages, which started to lead to the unravel part of our relationship. Really. I wasn't as dirty, I'll just call it, as I had been with other relationships or things of that nature, because it's my wife and this pre-programming that was subconsciously in my brain. And, I didn't say I stopped, but I didn't do as much of I'll just describe it as aggressive behavior in the bedroom. I know there's a better way to describe that, but that's what's coming to my mind right now. I think you guys get the idea. And that's what's going on here, right? It sounds like with this show. I haven't seen this show, but it happens to a lot of guys is they go into nice guy syndrome, right? They become a nice guy. And that's not friggin' sexy, right? And really what it is, and you and I talked about this with the whole idea of, I was telling you in the UK, I feel like I need to, in another area of my life, not this area, release the brakes. That's my mantra, is release the brakes. Right. And that's kind of adopted through the movement a little bit. It's release the brakes. How, that's what's coming up for me when I was in the UK. And I think a lot of these guys put on the brakes because it's like, okay, I'm just gonna be a nice guy. And they're going and they're watching kinky porn or something like that to get their fantasies met, jerking off. And they're not bringing it to the bedroom. And their wife's doing the same thing. I remember one time, this is a little off topic, where my wife and I sat down and she asked me, she's like, what kind of porn do you watch? And at first I was like, oh, do I answer, my internal dialogue, how do I answer this? I was like, let me show you. Right. And so I'm just a guy. So I'm like, oh, here you go. Cause I'm very transparent with her. I'm very open. And it turned into a great conversation. And I asked her, do you watch porn? Yes. It's like, oh crap. Didn't even consider that. Right. It's not with me. So what kind of porn do you watch? And then she showed me. And that opened up a whole other conversation. We talked about fantasies and things like that before, but I never sat down and said, thought about it. I'm a guy. I'm watching porn periodically. Is my wife watching it? It's not talked about, right? We don't talk about in that society of women sitting at their computers or on their phones, watching porn, masturbating, using tools and things like that. Yet these things, the rabbit and all these other toys for women, it's like $1 billion industry. Someone's buying them. Somebody's buying these things. So much so that women at work, I remember this a number of years ago, got in trouble for using them at work. It was it'll
be all the men that are buying them out, so the wives don't use the rabbit instead of coming to them.
Yeah. We can do a podcast about that.
Let's get these shelves. Let's get these things off the shelves, guys.
Well, there's a trick for that too that I can share with you guys some other time. But so guys that are facing this idea that their woman has a low sex drive, it's a fantasy of yours, guys. And again, I've been there. It's a fantasy of yours. Her sex drive is most likely higher than yours, but women are better than we are at hiding it. They talk about it with each other, most of them. So her best friend, by the way, knows that you guys aren't having sex. She knows also about the other guy, probably, or guys that she's fantasizing about, the guy at the gym, the guy at work. She knows about it. Oh, Daryl, Frank, Rick, whoever it is, was in today. Geez, he's looking good, or he did this, or he looked at me. She's talking about that. This is your time to reclaim that frame. This is your time to step up, raise your sexual market value, your SMV, right? Part of it's physical, but that's a lesser part, but it is part. The other part is being able to stand in your power, right? And this all comes from, you've heard us talk about this. I think we did another podcast episode on this, is going from deactivated to activated. Because what happened to me and happens to a lot of us men, in fact, I'd say 99%, sounds like in this story you're talking about, Tim, Sex Life, the show. Here you got a successful guy, a stock trader, I think you said, or banker, making a lot of money, right? Nice body, looking good, attractive, but yet still deactivated. And here he is with this hot woman. So you have this guy that looked great as a couple. Then she runs into an activated man. And this is what all of the guys that graduate our program talk about. Women just turn on a radar towards an activated man. It is insane, guys, if you've not experienced it. Guys rolling off the alpha reset are on such a high that everybody can feel that they're activated. Like everybody. People, like you told a story about the cab. Guys are in the cab, and cab driver, who happened to be the owner, is like, what are you guys on? Like, basically, I want some of whatever you guys have. It's that noticeable. It's subtle, but that noticeable, right? And so, gentlemen, really, the answer here is going from deactivated, being the nice guy, being in that state of suppression, essentially, and make up the story that your wife has no sex drive, to go into activation mode, right? Become activated, right? When you become activated, I can tell you, it gets a lot more fun inside the bedroom and outside as well, because you're actually really just being more you, right? You're able to, release the brakes, so to speak, and be the man that you always have known yourself to be, but you've suppressed because of programming that you probably aren't aware of.
Yeah, it's your energy arrives in the room long before you do. It just does. It's kind of the way I like to think of this. I used to struggle to wrap my head around the idea of my energy arriving in the room before I do, right? But if you've ever had the feeling that somebody's staring at you,
yep,
and you look around and somebody is, right? That's an example of you feeling connected to somebody else that's connecting to you, right? And the same is true of your energy when you walk in the room. In actual fact, one of the guys posted in workplace last week, he was noticing that a lot of the guys returning from the alpha reset had this presence, and that the wives and the kids were feeling it even before they walked in through the door. Because of everything that was getting shared by some of the wives, by the men, and so on. So he asked his wife, or he was talking to his wife about this, and his wife had just started to study Reiki. And she'd gone to the point where she was studying about auras and energy and the energetic field that we all have. Like, this is science. Your heart has a magnetic field that stretches out in front of you, and the frequency of that field changes based on your mood, basically. Similar with your aura, right? So the point I'm making here is she was saying that your aura can stretch out as far as 20 meters in front of you. When you were really on point, so you're happy, you're playful, you're inspired, you decide, boom, right? You're just on point. That's how people feel it. It's actually a scientific fact. They feel it from you. Equally, when you aren't on point and you're stressed out and you're anxious and you're worried and you are playing small, your aura shrinks. And people don't feel you. This is kind of that scenario where you walk into a party And you don't realize, but by the end of it, there's been a guy stood in the corner for the past 3 hours. No one even knew was there.
Yep.
Versus the guy that walks into the party and you feel him arrive, right? He's just the life and soul of the place. So this is where you can directly influence your wife's sex drive.
100%. I mean, you can literally be like the key to the car engine, turning the engine on. And that key is going from deactivated to activated. Simple as that. Obviously, there's nuances to it, but it's as simple as that, guys, right? You want to be the guy in the nanny cam sitting on the couch with your wife's head bobbing up and down, or, you know, being cuddled or being pursued, or getting the text message as the guy in the inner circle did, you know, saying, hey, I want you. Like, you know, that's what we all want. And you can have it. And that's the coolest part. And I think a lot of guys just don't realize that they can have it. And they think, again, it's easier. I did this. It's easier to blame my wife. It's easier to blame her. But the truth is, have you done everything you need to do to step into that role? And if you haven't, well, it's time to step up.
Yep.
Gentlemen, as always, take some action here, right? If there's any moment of insight, if you're experiencing your wife having a low sex drive, right? Find a way to go from deactivated to activated, going from being the nice guy to being the benevolent alpha, as we talk about here at The Powerful Man. This is your calling. This is your wake-up call. If it resonates with you, take some massive action now. Don't calendar it out. Take action now. Pause this, stop this, do it now, whatever it is you need to do. As always, guys, we appreciate you and appreciate all you're doing for the movement we call The Powerful Man. We'll see you next time on The Powerful Man Show.